we in the light?
No, yeah. I watched this guy in TMC when I was in prison, man. You know, he's a life changer, man. God bless him.
Thank you.
He's a hero, man.
He wants me to sign something.
Right here? My shirt, yes, for my wife.
Right there?
Yes, for my wife, Leslie Sanchez.
I'm going to put Darren Carter. Hey, I'm glad you're out, man.
No problem, boss.
That's good. Thank you.
You know, this is...
Yeah.
I'm going through some things right now.
Yeah. God bless you, man. Yeah.
Thank you for making me that.
Dude, let me tell you something. Laughter is the best medicine. I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. You know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is. I've been going through a lot of things, and I know,
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I know God's going to be with me.
Dude, thank you.
Thank you, boss.
You got it. God bless you. You're welcome.
Yeah. Yo, what? Yo, do what do you want? Yo, dude, I'm trying to start my song here. Yo, spit it out. Yo, I got freckles everywhere, even in my underwear. Down there, don't stare. I use Nair, so there's no hair. Bare like a pear, not hairy like a kiwi. Kiwis are hairy, and that gets kind of scary.
Come on, baby girl, I wanna see what you got. You like my freckles? Let's play connect the dots. Let's do it on the beach and blend into the sand. You know you won't ginger over Mary I got them freckles, girl, all over my body. I got them freckles, girl, all over my body.
When I was a kid, my hair was black.
Oh, yeah. And we're back together. Thanks for joining the Pocket Party. What's up, guys? This is your boy, or should I say, as Floyd Mayweather says, this is your man, Darren Carter, the party starter, which I never noticed. And I started watching a lot of footage of him, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. Because everybody's like, yo, this is your boy. But it's like, it's kind of cool to be like, this is your man. So I advocate, let's start saying that to each other. Yo, this is your man, Luis Ramirez. Yo, this is your man, Zimmer Andronigian. This is your man, Lee Meyerhofer. This is your man, Remy Valencia. This is your man, Reggie Cepeda. I just gave shout-outs. That's how I did my shout-outs. Yo, this is your... These are my hardcore... my T1 listeners, as Tom Likas would say. That's right. You need... Or as Dean Del Rey would say, yeah, you need 1,000 true fans. But I really appreciate it, man. Anytime I can get like those 5-star reviews on iTunes or a thumbs up and a comment on YouTube, it just as Mike Tyson's coach Customato would say, you got to fan the flames until there's a spark there, and then it just roar and takes off. You know, so I want to thank you guys for that. In fact, somebody left. Oh man, I should have done this before I hit record. Oh no, I'm going to start playing the podcast. No. I want to give a shout out to the people that have left. I only got 2 reviews so far. This is kind of cool. You guys are in on the ground floor. You're like, yeah, I remember when Darren Carter's Pocket Party only got 2 reviews. All right, here we go. I want to give a shout out right here, right now to... They didn't use their real name. They said, please read. And I read. So there, boom, there you go. Please read. I read it. Keep it going, Mr. Party Starter. Thanks for the content. I like my women like I like my podcast. Subscribed and many special guests. Oh, yeah. And big shout out to Mike Bagak. Yes. Oh, I love it. He says, one of the hardest working comics in the entire world. Listen to the Party Starter. Thank you. So, but you know what, though? I can't do it by myself. I did a show on BET. And when I was backstage, I remember at one of the meetings, they said one guy was, his name was Doug Williams. We were doing a side project where we were going to do our own filming and do I don't know if it was like a movie or what it was. Actually, this is pre-YouTube, to tell you the truth. So it's like, I remember we shot some sketches and stuff up in the foothills above La Cañada here in the Los Angeles area. But I remember at one of the meetings that we had, he goes, listen, guys, you know, a lot of us want to be like, you know, like a lone wolf, or as a comic, you like do your own thing. He goes, and I'll never forget this. I love the way he phrased it. He goes, with 1 we're a finger, with 5 we're a fist. Pow, bam. I'm like, that's true, you know. And I love those kind of phrases. You could be a victim or a victor. That's right, you know. I love stuff like that. Don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. Which could go sideways real quick if you're just like, yeah, I'm going to treat myself. Yeah, I was just going to have asparagus and salad, but you know what? Why should I cheat myself when I can have a milkshake? I'm going to treat myself. I got that from a waiter. I was at Bob's Big Boy. Which brings me up to our guest. He'll be coming up in a little bit. Frazer Smith. He and I went to Bob's Big Boy and recorded the podcast in the car. It was awesome. From the parking lot, we had a vantage point of a retirement center, and he mentions it right away. I didn't realize the car was pointing that way, and he's hilarious. If you guys know Frazer, he's fantastic, man. This guy's out every night. He hosts at the Laugh Factory, the Ice House, the Comedy Store. He does radio on KLOS. Big into radio since the 70s, off and on. He'll have a job for, a long stretch of time and then nothing for a year or two and go on the road with, John Lovitz. And just, the guy's great, man. George Lopez has used him. I believe Arsenio Hall. Just everybody loves Frazer, man. If you know the stand-up game in L.A., you'll know Frazer Smith. He's great. Really cool guy. But what was I getting to? Fanning the Flames, boxing, blah, blah, blah. So I did a little research, and real quick, sponsor shout out to the Thai Room. If you're ever in Burbank, tell them you want the Darren Carter Friends Special, that you listen to the Pocket Party podcast. Yes, do that. They're great, man. That's what I'm saying. You need to fan the flames. You get a few supporters, people that listen, that want to be guests, that want to share the links, that want to tell their friends, and that's what you need. I've been a guest on Joey Diaz's podcast, and he's always been great to me, man. And you need these people in your life that can help you out, no matter what it is, even if in your own life, like, whatever you're doing, you can't do it by yourself. We need each other, And so I was thinking about Mike Tyson for some reason. I don't know if it was fanning the flames. You don't know how an idea sparks, and I thought, what happened to his last fight? I wonder how that went down. And I thought, whoever beat him, what happened to them? So I did a little deep dive on YouTube, and I looked up, and it turns out his last fight was in 2005, and he lost to Kevin McBride. Kevin McBride. Now listen to this. This is Mike Tyson's final fight. I don't know how many rounds it was scheduled for. If it was for probably 12, I'm guessing. But when Tyson went to the corner after the 6th round, they just called the fight and said, we're not coming out, He decided at the beginning of the 7th round they weren't going to finish it. This is Mike Tyson's final interview. Listen to this. Check this out.
All right. Thank you very much, Steve. Mike, first let's start with you. Did you want to continue?
Well, I would like to continue, but I saw that I was getting beat on. I realized I don't think I have it anymore because I got the ability to stay in shape, but I don't got the fighting guts, I don't think, anymore.
When did you recognize that? At what part of the fight?
I don't know. Early into the fight. I'm just sorry I let everybody down. I just don't have this in my heart anymore.
Did you feel as though you had it coming into the fight?
No, I'm just fighting to take care of my bills, basically. I don't have the stomach for this kind of no more. I'm more conscious of my children and those guys looking at my parents. I don't have that ferocity. I'm not an animal anymore.
Does that mean we won't see you fight again?
Yeah, that's most likely. I'm not going to fight again. I'm not going to disrespect the sport anymore by losing to this caliber of fighters.
Jeff, why did you decide to step in at this point and tell referee Joe Cortez?
I thought that was interesting. That was his last fight, and he didn't mean to disrespect Kevin by saying that, but it's true. I mean, come on, the caliber of fighter. They kept referring to him as a journeyman, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Here's a little bit more of Mike Tyson. Check this out. Here we go. Just
Care of my life.
Is Kevin McBride a good fighter, or was he just somebody who caught you now at the end of your career?
Well, I can't take anything away from Kevin, but your guys know the situation. People in the boxing world know the situation.
I know you've lost tonight. I know it's difficult, but are you in a better place in your head mentally at this portion of your life than you've been in the past?
Oh, definitely. I have different friends, different associates. I don't even associate with my old crowd and associates no more. I don't get involved with that. I'm in a different world right now, a totally different spirit.
Mike, we appreciate your time. It's been great to watch your career. It's been up and down. We've seen a lot of things out of you, and tonight we appreciate your sportsmanship.
That was amazing. You know what was pretty cool is when I looked into how honest he is. I mean, how in that moment of just like, if you picture like Mike Tyson in the 80s, when he would just come out and so ferocious and so quick and with great leg work, and you know, he right there, he said basically he gave up, and, you know, like his heart wasn't into it after 1990, and that was 15 years prior. They kept referring to Kevin McBride, the guy. I thought, man, listen, you beat Mike Tyson? Are you kidding me? And I was like, whatever happened to that guy? Like, what happened to him after that? Well, I looked it up. He went on to fight 8 more times over 6 years. He only won 1 more time. His very next fight. So he fought June 2005. His next fight was April 2006. Boom. He won that fight. So he probably got a lot of money for that next fight. And then after that, it was a loss, a loss, a loss, a win, a loss, a loss, a loss. And it looks like his last fight was in 2011. It was cool. I saw an interview with him, and he said, he goes, I can always tell my children, he's Irish, I could tell my children and my grandchildren that I beat Mike Tyson. I beat Mike Tyson. The people that beat me, they can't say they beat Mike Tyson, but I can say I beat Mike Tyson. I thought that's quite an accomplishment, man. That really is. You know, I tweeted earlier. I said, by the way, if you're on Twitter, at Darren Carter is where you find me. At Darren Carter, Darren, of course. You know how to spell it, Darren Carter. Yeah, so I tweeted earlier, because you can do polls on Twitter. I said, where is it? Oh, I said, what would be scarier to you? Boxing 4 3-minute rounds or doing stand-up for 45 minutes? 80% of the people said they would be more afraid to do stand-up for 45 minutes. 80% said more afraid to do stand-up. I'm like, are you kidding me? Well, that's why I'm a comedian. Maybe a boxer would be afraid. I don't know. Listen, I would be more afraid to do 4 rounds of, 4 3-minute rounds. That's scary, man. Someone's pummeling you, and the chance of permanent damage, like, not for me, because I train and watch a lot of Rocky movies, but I train, yeah. I jump rope like a mother, Have you seen me jump rope? Yeah. Rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. Let's go outside, mother haha. I say mother haha because when I was a kid, I used to write my jokes. Teenager, this is a true story. And I used to write my raps and jokes and stuff. And I didn't want my mom to know that I was writing motherfucker. So I'd write like mother haha. I still kind of do that sometimes. People do that, right? They don't curse. They say shut the front door instead of saying the F word or whatever. But a shout out. I also tweeted, who wants a shout out? So I'm gonna give a shout out. Who is it? To Phil White. Phil White, you're getting a shout out. Boom. I just tweeted that. I didn't think to do it until like right now, like 12 minutes before I started. I should have done it earlier, but oh well. What are you going to do? All right, so they kept calling him a journeyman. I'm like, what the hell's a journeyman? Like, I'd heard that expression before, like you're a journeyman electrician or a journeyman plumber or a journeyman. When it comes to boxing, by the way, I looked it up. It said, what is the actual diff? Well, you get the idea. Basically, a journeyman is basically above a club fighter but below a contender. So, in one person's opinion, the like basically what it would be is there's like the champions, and then there's like the contender, like right underneath it, where you're like, I'm gonna be a champion, I'm gonna do it. You're considered, yes, but you also might have the right management, the right people behind you, that kind of thing. And then you have like a journeyman, and then a club fighter, then a prospect, and like a rookie. So you start out like you're up and coming, you have like 5 fights, 6 fights, 8 fights, 10 fights, and then you maybe cross over and it's like, yeah, I'm getting up there. But a lot of like journeymen might be like, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. It seems like you might have like 12 wins and 28 losses, that kind of thing, where they're like people that have all the behind the scenes of the people that, pull the puppet strings are like, oh, we want our guy to do good, so let's put him up against this person who has, 8 wins and 40 losses. But sometimes there's an upset where that guy's like, no, screw that, I'm not losing today. There was a guy at my gym, he was joking around. He's just a regular guy. He's my boxing gym. He's just a regular guy like me, like a citizen, but he's been boxing. He's younger. He's like in his 20s, and actually he's probably in his 30s, and he just boxes like after work or whatever. and he was joking around. He was like, I want to do one fight, just one real amateur fight. I want to get in there. I want to fight someone who has like 8 losses. They're 8, like 8 fights with 8 losses, like 0 and 8. And the coach was going, too many fights. The guy's had too many fights. You'll probably lose, like, when like that Eminem song, the moment you own it, you got to never let it, when the bright lights are on. I talked to a guy that he told me about his first fight when he went from amateur to pro. He goes, dude, it's totally different. Number 1, you're not wearing headgear. Number 2, your shirt's off. So just that alone, you got to be in public, no headgear, and your shirt's off, and it's like, let's go. I mean, that's wow. Yeah. Anyways, okay, guys, let's get into it. I got Frazer Smith. He's amazing. He's been, you know him, you love him, and if you don't, get to know him. Like I said, this is really cool for me, a new experience of learning how to, do a podcast mobily. I don't need like a studio or I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not tied down to anything. And also I'm learning now how to combine clips where I'm like, oh, I can record something earlier and then later on, which sounds simple when you know how to do it, but I did not know how to like merge the 2 clips. And I believe I have figured it out. And if you want to do, I'm going to have my son, he's a 10-year-old little boy and I love him so much, and he plays piano, and he's going to, we're going to come up with a theme song, or actually he's going to do it, and I'm going to play a theme song. But if you guys are a musician or you know a musician and they want to give me some copyright-free music, but I will plug them and name their band, let me know so I can use alternate theme songs. I can use theirs on the front end or the back end or maybe in the middle of the podcast or whatever. But I'm looking for royalty-free music, and like I said, I will give them shout-outs and I can plug them on social media, etc. What else? While I got you here, like if you could, leave a comment on YouTube, leave a comment on iTunes, and share these links. Let people know. Let's spread the party, man. We're trying to, bring some joy and happiness to the world and do it with each other. And I think that's it. Let's get into it. You guys are awesome. I'm Darren Carter, the party starter. That's my beatbox. We out. Yeah. All right. Perfect. We are going live. I am here in the Bob's Big Boy parking lot in Burbank, California. Beautiful downtown Burbank. With the one and only Mr. Frazer Smith.
Hello, Darren.
How are you?
Well, I'm good, buddy. This is really convenient for me because Bob's Big Boy, as you know, is right next door to the Evergreen Retirement Residence, where I have recently moved into.
That's hilarious.
So I just had to really just walk out my front door.
If you guys could see the view, that's literally what we're looking at, Evergreen Retirement Residence.
That's where I live now. It's beautiful. Very convenient, and I can get to Bob's in like 2 minutes.
You're like 10 years ago, it took me 1 minute.
Yeah.
But no. You're like, yeah, that walker has rollerblades on it.
Well, yeah, I invented that.
Yeah.
Actually, and I'm hoping to market it.
Wouldn't that be something you're playing tennis and you look over and you're like, give me back my tennis balls, and somebody had taken those tennis balls and put them on the front of their walker?
That wouldn't be right. And I'm sure it's happened.
Back when you could do, when everyone could have fun with racial jokes and not get all upset, I used to be like, I said something about soccer balls were on the front and basketballs were on the front. And
right. Can't do that anymore,
on the
man.
front.
Can't do anything anymore.
Hairballs are on the front. And
Hairballs are always.
And if my wife hears me do that joke, she'll have my balls on the front.
There you go, folks.
That was the joke I did. But
nice. That was the joke. I'm sorry. I was cutting you off on the joke.
Oh, sorry. No. That was. That's okay.
Do that.
So this is interesting for me because I want to say, I mean, you're a huge radio guy. Detroit, Los Angeles, billboards, and I know that there was a little pushback back in the day when I'd be like, dude, do my podcast. And you were always a wonderful guest. And then I remember one time I did one of your podcasts, and at that day, maybe you had just had a
meltdown?
A meltdown. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
And I was like, I remember opening up all positive. I'm like, dude, thanks for having me on your podcast. I love podcasting. And that one particular day, you were like, I hate them. You might have even dropped an F-bomb.
Well, I do hate them. No, I don't hate him. It was just one of those days where.
I remember the producer guy was looking. His eyes bulged out of his head, like.
Well,
don't say that.
I was fired immediately.
Which is odd to be fired from a podcast.
Yeah, how do you get fired from a podcast?
But that was like network. That
Well,
was
it's a
trying to
big
get something
network,
going
and you know
on.
the thing, and what I generally didn't like about podcasting, we were at this
Yeah.
big network, and I'm a little spoiled about equipment and engineering and stuff because I've done radio so long, and usually and I've worked at little stations where things
Yeah.
didn't work so well and all that,
Yeah.
so I should have been used to it. But in the last many years, I've been working at big stations. So, this podcast place was supposed to be the number one podcast place, and we would get there and the mics wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And just everything was off.
We're in
For
an-
you, it would
Yeah.
shut down in the middle of your podcast. And I was getting frustrated that day because, again, a little spoiled and a little bit used to, everything working
Because I feel
like
like we're
a
at
top.
Yeah, and we're also at a weird time where we don't know which way things are going. Like you wonder to yourself, like, is podcasting a step down or is it a step
Well,
up?
I've also
Or it's
improved
like-
my attitude about
Yeah.
podcasting because I have a podcast now that I
Just
really
tell us
enjoy.
about it. What's-
Well, it's called Puck Off, and it's a hockey podcast.
Yeah.
I do it with Joe Bartnick, and
Great
you know,
guy.
Joe's great, and I was wrong about podcasting. It's wonderful. When I go to the Comedy Store, I see all these people from
Yeah.
all parts of the country. They come to the Comedy Store because they listen to Joey Diaz's podcast or Joe Rogan's podcast, or
Mark Maron or-
Mark Maron or any of the guys. And
Tom Segura, all
and
these guys.
They
Bert
all know.
Kreischer.
Yeah, they all have big podcasts, and
Yeah.
it actually draws people in to the shows, and it's amazing. And our hockey podcast reaches all over the world. Now people come up to me wherever I go. If I'm in a different town doing stand-up comedy, people come up and whatever their team is, you mentioned I'm from Detroit. If I'm in Detroit, people come up to me and go, "Hey, we're Red Wing fans, and we hear your Puck Off podcast." And
Yeah.
I have fans all over now in those hockey-heavy cities like Boston
Yeah.
and Philly and New York, and I never had fans before in those areas. So podcasting is awesome.
It's weird.
It took me a minute
yeah.
to get
Which
into
I
it.
get it, man. It's like, I remember I used to do another podcast back in the day, and there was a guy that would do like overnight shifts here in LA or whatever. So I remember at that time our podcast would get like 5,000 downloads, and for me, I was like, this is amazing. We got 5,000 downloads. But to him from the radio world, it was like, that's nothing. There's millions of people that could potentially listen to me when I open up the mic. But I was like, so for me being a comic, I'm like, are you kidding me? Before I was like, I have to wait around till nighttime to do a set to get in front of people. Now I'm like, this is a way I can reach people anytime I want, and so for me, podcasting was a step up. For him, it was a step down. But now I see it's just like how radio, right? Didn't radio used to be, if you're on AM, that was like the big deal, and then FM was kind of like the redheaded stepchild.
Well, then it kind of flip-flopped.
And it
yeah.
flip-flopped, right?
AM was a big one, and then it flipped to FM being big, and then back again, and now they're both kind of equal. But, the podcasting world is awesome. We were at Comedy Store last night, you and I, and a fan came up to you and was all over you. Hey, man, Darren, and he was a fan of your podcast.
That's right.
And in the past, so you have fans out there from your podcast that listen, and then they'll come out to a comedy show. They already know you.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome. I get it now. It took me a minute to pick up on it, and I think what you were experiencing though at that one day when I was upset was, that was the number one network supposedly, and yet the equipment and everything wasn't working half the time, and stuff like that. And I just didn't. I had a low tolerance for that. But now the equipment's become so simplified and better,
Yeah. It's definitely at that time it was still a little bit of a transition of like, what is going on, and now you're doing it all. You're doing stand-up live. You're live on stage. You're doing, TV and movies. I remember, we had a viewing party. You were like, I think it was like a movie on the Hallmark Channel or something.
I wasn't.
like
I wasn't a movie on Hallmark Channel
something.
with John Larroquette.
Yeah.
Was the star, and I had it was the biggest part I've ever had. It was a co-lead, so that was awesome. I played the bad guy.
That's cool.
And enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? So it's kind of neat to as a performer, we can do, different avenues. And like now, like I'm saying, like we're literally in my car recording this podcast from the mobile studio.
Oh, this is your car.
Yeah,
Oh, well, then I got to go.
yeah.
We're in
Welcome
the
to
big
my world.
By the
Welcome
way,
to
I think I know you've been going to a boxing gym, and I think we got to get the Bob's Big Boy statue over there. He is.
He's looking a little.
We can't be careful. You can't make the body shaming jokes anymore.
I know.
But
Yeah, see, we can't even say fat shaming.
no, we can't even say that. But we do have to get him to a gym.
Whenever I go to In-N-Out Burger and they go, "Sir, will you be eating that in your car?" I feel like they're fat shaming me.
I think they are.
Because I'm like,
Be careful of the guy in the white Honda. He has no self-control. He won't be able to take it home. He'll be in his vehicle.
But yeah, that's my point. Like, we don't have to, like with a mobile podcast studio, it's like, all right, I don't have to meet at a particular place. We can just, hey, where you at, man? I'll roll up in my vehicle.
Meet you at Big Boys.
Yeah.
Do our show.
I know.
Yeah.
I like how there's a security guard here walking around.
This guy
he's
is something
dropping
else.
orange cones.
He is putting an orange cone everywhere.
Yeah.
This guy needs his own podcast. The Orange Cone.
He's looking around. His head's on a swivel.
He thinks we're doing a drug deal.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, doesn't he? He's got us
He does.
scoped out.
I want to talk about motivation. As far as, I did a podcast a few years ago with Craig Shoemaker, and it was right around the time he took like maybe I don't know what you call it, like a retirement or a sabbatical.
The Love Master.
Yes, the Love Man. He just was like,
Yeah, baby.
He'd been touring too much. He just was like, I need a break, man. I gotta just. He said he was retiring from show business or stand up.
Yeah, and he moved into the Evergreen retirement residence too. He lives 2 doors down.
But he asked me a question. He goes, what keeps you fired up? I see you out at night. I always see you out there. He goes, what keeps you going? And I didn't even think it was a question. I was like, yeah, it's what we do, man. Like, but for me, I remember my answer for him is I said I like having a project. Like, let's say a stand-up deal, or an album. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a deadline. I'm gonna record my next album. And I read this great quote. It said, without a deadline, a goal is just a wish. And so I'm like, all right, my deadline is I want to get it recorded by blah blah blah. So every night I'd be out like trying to tweak jokes and get them better. And but I've had friends that have asked me since then, like, dude, what keeps you motivated? And there's times where I do get myself in a little bit of a slump. I mean, not too crazy, but another podcast guest. Just
microwave.
The microwave
thing is done.
Let me turn my ringer off. But I want to ask you, what is it that because you're out, I think, even more than I am, and I'm out a lot. I mean, I'm always like somewhere doing something, but you're even before me. You'll be like, hey, I got to head over to Pasadena and I'm like, really? Like, because you get all these paid shows and you're on the radio and you still. I think one night you had to get out and hit an open mic up kind of early, right? Like 6 o'clock or.
Well, my inspiration really is drugs. I go out and try to find them, and really, the only way you can do that is get out and hustle. No,
rub elbows with the open micers.
That's right, Ed.
That was wild. Let's
Crazy,
do some Ambien
crazy.
and cocaine.
Well, what really usually happens is I get locked out of the Evergreen retirement home because I always forget my key, and then I have nowhere to go, so I have to go to a club. No, I think with me, Darren, it's just about staying busy because I always find that with especially my style, which is just one-liners, I just kind of do the old school, and not many people do this. There's a few comics who are really great at that, but not everyone does that style. And it's a unique style because you have to have the timing for that
It's
style.
awesome, man.
You really have to. So you kind of have to go out
you're
every
topical
night.
and you do good jokes. Yeah, you're right. It'd be worse if you're like. It'd be harder. That's the worst. But it'd be harder. Like, let's say I really want to craft my story about,
Well, the
that time
one-liners really take timing, and
Yeah.
and so you have to. I find if I get rusty quickly.
Can we tell them a couple of the one-liners? I love the one. They just had the meeting with.
Well, they just had the meeting with Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. They had it in Singapore. I was surprised. I thought they were going to be having it at Supercuts. I got to tell you, folks, these are the jokes over here.
A place
the
they
Darren
both-
Carter.
I love that, and I love the stuff about what was the one right after Roseanne? They let her show go. You said something like,
Roseanne sent the racist tweets and lost her show. Even Kramer was like, "What were you thinking?" There's another one for you from the Frazer Smith collection here.
I'm sweating like Kanye.
We should
West
do a show in your car.
I
We
know.
should do.
What was that one? Or was it? I'm sweating like
Kanye West wearing a Trump hat in the hood.
and
We changed it to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
Chicken and
Yeah, you
Waffles. He's
gave me
like,
that.
I'll take mine to go, please.
Gets a laugh.
And then the one about there was a big box. It was going to be between Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. And then what happened was Canelo supposedly got busted for PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs. I believe they said it was steroids, right? And he said, no, it's not steroids. It was something that was because he lives in Mexico. He said it was something that was in the Mexican meat.
The Mexican meat, and our joke was if he wanted to avoid Mexican meat, he should have gone to Taco Bell. That's another.
There's no Mexican
Crazy.
meat.
There's no.
It
That is
can't be
weird.
found.
You would not normally see Mexican meat at Taco Bell. Weird.
Yeah, and then Mexican meat. Oh, dude.
That's all I eat now, by the way.
It's Mexican meat.
Yeah, I need the steroids.
You come down.
Yeah,
but you're always
because
thinking
I'm at
like,
the retirement home, and if you don't have steroids, they won't let you in. What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, so I was trying to think of that. There was like some other like topical stuff. You're just so good at it, man. And last night, okay, a thing that you've done. Oh man, how did you come up with the snapping thing?
Well, the snapping thing, I was in Vegas, and I was working at Brad Garrett's club at the MGM, the Brad Garrett Comedy Club, which is a great club. And I had done a set that night. I'm walking through the lobby. They have that big lobby at the MGM. And I'm walking through there, and people were snapping their fingers at me. And I go, what are you guys doing? And they go, you're that snapping guy. And I go, I am? And they go, yeah, you were. Apparently, subconsciously, I was
You were
snapping
tell a
my fingers
punchline and then like snap
after
your
the
finger.
joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of a rhythmic thing. It's kind of like a poor man's rim shot.
I
Can't
love
afford
it.
to bring a drummer with me everywhere I go, so
I can snap.
I can snap. And
Because last night you were doing some ad libs off of it too. You would tell a joke, snap, and you'd be like, "Come on, folks, give me a laugh. It's not worth the carpal tunnel I'm getting from this or whatever."
Yeah. I go, I didn't get carpal tunnel for nothing. Come on, folks. So then you gave me a joke, and it really worked well. I go, I'm kind of old school.
Yeah.
I'm into Snapchat. I go, this is my Snapchat. I snap, and then I chat. I got a big laugh. Yeah, thank you for that, by the way.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And then I love what you're doing. So you're on here in Los Angeles. If you guys, can we plug it?
Yes, we can.
KLOS 95.5, KLO Rock.
I'm on
Southern
Sunday night
California.
on KLOS, which is the legendary rock station. Very proud to be on that station. It's my old station from many moons ago, and I was fortunate enough to get back on there a couple of years ago and have this show on Sunday nights on at 11 o'clock till 3 a.m. on 95.5 KLOS. It's on iHeartRadio if you don't live in the Los Angeles area, and I always welcome listeners.
You get everybody.
I've got three of them.
You get like Dice Clay. You get like everybody goes on that show. Athletes, coaches.
Been very lucky, very lucky. I had Tommy Lasorda, the great Dodger manager, on a couple of weeks ago. He was fantastic. The great Shep Gordon was on there, the Supermensch, the rock manager was on last week. And, I'm pretty lucky with the guests. And, I've just been around show business so long, Darren, that I'm able to fool these guys into coming down to the show that I've known for years.
That's the key, right? Just, just stay with
Well,
it.
here I am
Don't
in the
jump out
Bob's
of
Big Boy parking lot, so it kind of says everything about guests.
He's like, I'll do anything. Yeah, I'll be there.
Hey, I just want to get out of the retirement home. But, I have been very lucky with that show, and it's fun to do. And, I was out of that game for a few years. So when you get back, I think you feel very thankful, to have a gig and really enjoying it again.
That's great. That's great. Did you, what was I going to ask you? Oh, so I know, and with stand-up, when did you start? When did you come to L.A. and get into the stand-up scene?
Well, I came to Los Angeles late 70s. This is 1870s we're talking. No, I came in the late 70s, and, I got a show on KLOS, on K-Rock Radio. I was on.
Now, back then, there was a feud between rock and disco. Were you part of that?
Yes, I started that.
Really?
No,
I started that.
No, K-Rock was really responsible for bringing a lot of the new music into the public eye, and not just locally in L.A., but it was a groundbreaking station, and they were the first to play a lot of things. We had Rodney Bingenheimer on there, who was a music expert, and he knew all the new music. So we started playing new wave and punk, and it really took over from the disco scene.
Yeah.
And so I was part of that.
I mean, radio is it's still big. Everyone has radio. We love radio, but man, it was huge back then.
Back then, it was really big.
Huge.
And I was pretty lucky to be on K-Rock because it was a little station, but everybody was listening to it because of this new music. So I benefited from that. All of a sudden, everybody was hearing me, and I blew up really fast. I kind of went viral before there was viral.
Yeah.
You know, and it's still viable. You know, it's a great medium. I don't think it will ever go away.
Van Halen, didn't you?
And I helped break a lot of big bands. Van Halen, I helped get started. David Lee Roth used to climb up the fire escape at K-Rock and climb in through the window and kick in the door and demand that I play their test pressing. They didn't even have an album at that time. And, you know, I played one song. Finally, I go, all right, dude. You know, because I used to toss them out. I go, get out of here. I'm doing a show. Well, who are you?
Do you remember what the song was?
It was Ain't Talking About Love off the first
album.
album.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, now it's cool. At the time, you
Great
don't know.
song.
Yeah.
You don't know. But everyone responded. So back then, if the phones lit up, then you knew you had a hit. So they did light up on that one. And, you know.
There's a security guard.
There he is again. Watch out or we'll get orange coned. But, you know, I was lucky to be able to help a few bands get started.
Yeah.
You know, it was an interesting time because when the new music came in, that meant that everyone went to that one station. So being a part of that station, you know, I was part of that whole
like
movement.
how Netflix specials are big now. Like
kind of
people
same
are like
thing.
Netflix so and so or this new series, this binge watch. So back then it was like the big thing would break and it's like listen to the radio and.
Yeah.
And then so you're doing radio and then at night you're doing stand up, you're getting in the scene and you were telling a story one time about some crazy wild performer that was at the Laugh Factory that.
Oh, Peter Potofsky. Well, he had been with Ringling Brothers Circus and was a clown for Ringling Brothers and very physical guy. He could do flips and knock him like Jerry Lewis back in the day. You know, he would bounce into something, fall down, or like Chevy Chase in the first couple years of or the first year of Saturday Night Live. So he was that kind of a comic. And hilarious guy, and he got on the Tonight Show. He did very well in stand-up for a while, and would always do something outrageous on stage, and was funny with his dialogue too. But the main thing was his physicality. You know, he would do flips and bounce into things and look like he really hurt himself, and he'd bounce right back up. And
you don't really see that much nowadays, do you? With stand-up, I don't really see.
Probably
anybody...
because of the medical bills.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. This guy, because comics didn't have health insurance in the day. And, and I don't know. But anyway, one night we were at the Laugh Factory, and for some reason he ran upstairs during his set and into the balcony. And the audience is looking around like, where'd he go? Yeah. And he's up there, and he's just yelling down, and he's doing bits from up in the balcony. Yeah. And then I think he figured, well, I came all the way up here. I guess I've got to pay this off. Yeah. So he jumped out of the balcony. And
onto the stage.
Well, no, not on the stage. He missed the stage.
Oh, my.
And landed on somebody's table.
Oh, no.
And the drinks went flying, and it looked like something out of a movie. Because that's no small drop. I don't know how many feet it is, but it's pretty big, good-sized drop.
Yeah.
And he flipped over and landed on his back and then couldn't move.
Oh my God!
So I had to run up on stage. I literally ran past him and then I ran back to help him up. But I had to go up and go, folks, I think that's the end of his set. I brought up the next comic and then we dragged him out and he got hurt on that bit. But yeah, that guy was an amazing entertainer.
That was a wild night. I was there. I think I was there the night Daniel Tosh. They brought him up and he didn't want to go on and he said some joke and that made the news and.
Well, Daniel went on. Yeah, I think he was just there to hang out, and the owner kind of coerced him into going on stage, and he did a bit. You know, he's very ironic.
Yeah.
And he had done a bit about rape, which really Danny would never do anything bad. Nobody's going to do a pro-rape bit.
It was something like,
there's always something. He was being sarcastic about it.
Like
he was being ironic.
Something about you could laugh at, even in the darkest moments, there's got to be something funny about.
Well, yeah, and anyone listening could tell that he was clearly making
a joke. Yeah,
a joke. It was not a.
Because I remember, not to interrupt, but I'll tell you real quick. I remember I saw George Carlin do a joke like anything can be made funny. You could, you may think rape's not funny. Well, what about Porky Pig raping, Donald Duck or whatever? Remember there was that joke?
Yeah, Carlin had a lot of edgy jokes like that, but nobody's ever going to take the wrong side of that kind of subject. And
so Tosh goes down that road.
But some woman was upset about it.
She goes, "There's nothing funny about being raped."
Yes, yeah, and the next day it was all over the internet, and then. He got in trouble for it, and I don't think that was quite right because if you were there, you knew he wasn't
malicious
at all.
Because I remember she goes, "There's nothing funny about." The way I remember it, like she goes, "There's nothing funny about rape." Like real, And
well,
it got
there
so
really
quiet.
is nothing funny about it.
Right.
But the way, if you know Daniel's style, he's
Yeah.
always saying something slightly edgy, and it usually has a reverse attitude
I remember
to
he
it.
paused, he got quiet, and people were like, "Oh shit, what's he gonna do?" And he goes, "Yeah, but wouldn't it be kind of funny if like 5 guys raped her right now, or something like that?
Something,
Something
I don't
weird like
remember
that."
what
And,
happened, but-
and it was a big laughter. Everyone laughed. It was like just silly, stupid, blah blah blah. And then you're right. The next day she wrote a blog, and it was like, "Oh my."
Well, I think
gosh,
that's the problem with what's going on today.
Yeah.
You know, with a lot of the political correctness. I think.
If you read it, if
political
you're reading it,
correctness
you're
has
like,
its place certainly. You know, and I
Yeah.
think that we're moving forward in that area, and there's certain things that really you do have to adjust your thinking on and how you speak about them. But at the same token, if you get too much in that direction, then things are limited. You can't really move and say anything, and most of the time you're just kidding around anyway. It's nothing really personal, or you're not trying to. But it's gotten to the point where you got to be super careful. It's like Archie Bell of the Drills used to say, "Do the tighten up, but don't you get too tight." You can't get too tight.
That's right.
And I think it has gotten a little bit that way. That's why it's fun. We were watching Dice last night, and even Dice has changed his style a lot. But it's funny to see the guy who's probably the least politically correct person on earth. And he's up there, and crowds are laughing because I think they feel like there's the one last guy that can still do that.
Yeah. And it's funny to see his style talking about the mundane, like almost like Seinfeld-esque. Like,
well, that's the
topics.
thing. He's doing that now.
Have you seen this?
Check out the hot potato chips.
He's like-
Everyone's hot now.
No, he's like, I don't know. He's like, where the fuck does almond milk come from?
Oh, there's no almonds giving milk. Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
he's got.
It's almost like what's the deal with almond milk?
My favorite thing is very Seinfeld-esque.
Yeah.
From Dice, it's really
It's
weird
hilarious.
to see that.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
really good at it. And then the other one that I get a kick out of is he pretends to be on the side of the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, he
"Don't
does.
worry, women, I'm on your side."
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
goes, "Me
Yeah.
too."
Me too. That's the thing. These
Wow.
guys were ugly.
Yeah,
You know?
he makes fun of all the
Yeah.
people who've been accused, and
Yeah.
it's just pretty funny. But it is people I think like it because he's one of the few people left that can say what's kind of on his mind.
Yeah.
And I just hope it doesn't go too far. I think at some point
Right.
you have to draw the line there, and yet it does have an important. It's got its place as well.
That's right. It's wonderful to have you on here. I appreciate you doing a quick little thing with me on the podcast. This is segment 1.
I got to get back to the Evergreen retirement home. It's bingo night. I got to get ready.
To you. I know what I was going to plug for you. I like what you're doing on the radio. You guys started a new thing so not only is he on Sunday nights, but you guys recently did something. It was a live comedy show.
Well,
on the radio, live on the radio.
Darren, they've had a thing called 5 o'clock funnies for years on KLOS, and people in the Los Angeles area know it. And it's been really helpful to comics. They play like a 5-minute clip from a comic.
I love it. I've
every
been on there
night at
several
5
times.
o'clock.
I love it.
And my friend Gary Moore is the host of the show, and he's a great afternoon radio jock, and has been, in charge of the 5 o'clock funnies for years. And it's really broken some people.
Tim Allen, right?
Got his big break on there, and he acknowledges that because it was played over and over again on KLOS. One week, Gino Michelini used to run it back in those days, and he started it. And he would play the Tim Allen piece over and over again, the one about
Tools.
the Tool Man guy,
Yeah.
and which later became his show, his TV show, and it really came off of that show. The Disney executives happened to be driving home and listening, and they heard him, and Tim wound up with a show over that, and he admits that.
Did you know Tim back in Detroit?
Oh, well, yeah, I knew him. We went to a college together at Western Michigan,
Wow.
so we were unable to get into the University of Michigan.
Yeah.
We were a couple of knuckleheads, but he's a great guy, and always has been cool. And he's back on with his show. I think his show got back on there. But 5 o'clock funnies had not ever done a live 5 o'clock funnies over the air, so they did one 2 weeks ago. It was me and your friend Greg Hahn, who I think is unbelievably funny. If you guys get a chance, check out Greg Hahn. He is a wild man.
So fast. So
Isn't he quick? And
Oh
he's
my-
just...
You guys are both. It was like bam, bam, bam. You
He's-
guys killed on the radio. I listened to it. It was crushed.
Well, I thank you for giving me some good jokes for that. But we had a great time, and it was a historic moment. They hadn't done that before. They had a performance space across from the radio station, and some pretty big bands have been playing there and playing live on KLOS recently. And it was the first time they'd done stand-up comedy. So they brought me in. I hosted, did a little set, and then Greg came up and did a set, and it was very successful. And how did it sound to you?
It was awesome. You know, I think you guys, were they like play like 3 minutes and then you guys went live?
3
for
minutes
the-
live, and then the rest was just us performing for the
I
people
liked
in
it
the room.
because you were doing stand up, but then you were also like doing comedy for people in our cars, you know, because
Yeah.
that was when
Well-
that big thing about Yanny and Laurel.
Well, you gave me that
Laurel,
joke because of the
Yanny.
Yanny and Laurel thing, and I said that if you're listening out there, in your car, I want to remind you there's been a traffic jam in Yanny Canyon. Laurel, Yanny, Laurel, and got a bunch of laughs and. Because it was timely that week. But yeah, you helped me out with that. I thought it went very well.
You were like, hey, who's here to watch comedy? Now, who's here just to sit out this traffic jam?
Yeah. It was fun, man. And, you know, it was exciting for me because my bosses got to see, my radio bosses, who have been just great to me, but they got to see the amount of fans that I have. A lot of old radio fans in town. And I don't think they knew that I had as many as I did because they're really not. They are, I think, from different towns. They've come to L.A. and you know, so they weren't aware of my fan base really.
Right.
I think they'd heard about it, but when they saw it in person, they were shocked at how many knuckleheads listen to me on the radio.
You know, listen, every time
They are just screaming the whole time they're in there. They're like rock fans, and that's you know, they're great. I'm not knocking them. I love them, but I'm just saying they're different than like a regular comedy.
No, it's
crowd.
true. My cousin, anytime I do your radio show or anything, and your name is mentioned or I put a photo, he always goes, "Phrase," you know, the Too Hip. He always mentions Too Hip. That was like a thing.
Well, Too Hip was a thing that I had back on my show, and my slogan was "Too Hip, Gotta Go," and they had bumper stickers,
That's
and
so
it got
cool.
really big, and people used to say it all the time, and now I've changed it to "Too Hip, Adult Diapers Gotta Go." That's what I sell at the retirement home. But you know, I'll give you a quick story on that. In the old days, my boss and I had a feud because I would park in his parking spot, and I didn't really do it to be a dick. I parked there because it was the closest one to the station. I was usually late coming in the morning, and I would try to, you know, during a break, run out and move my car so he wouldn't. By the time he got there, he wouldn't be mad that I had taken his spot. And one day I forgot, and he had my car towed.
Wow.
Yeah,
Just
which
a
I
bit-
thought was kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
So even though it was my boss, I shouldn't have done this, but I did. I'm out there. I was outside interviewing the tow truck driver, and I go, "Well, who's doing this?" And he goes, "His name is," and he gave me my boss's name. And I go, "Oh yeah." So
Wait, I'm sorry. When you say interview, you mean on air?
Yeah, this is all live.
Oh, cool.
So then, except my car got towed. But anyway, so I said to I said to the audience, I go, my boss had just gotten 2 hip license plates on his car, and he was all proud of that because he thought I jumped Fraze on it. Fraze couldn't get the 2 hip plates because I got them first. So and he drove this big Lincoln with 2 hip plates, and I said, you know, gang, if you see I had a lot of listeners at that time. I was kind of like Howard Stern level in L.A., and I said, if you see somebody driving around in a gray Lincoln with 2 hip plates, flip him off. Will you do that for me? And I had a lot of listeners back then, so every stoplight he stopped at, everyone was flipping him off. Because they would see the 2 hip plates. And,
that's great.
And so finally he came to me like a week later. He goes, hey, call off the dogs, man. He apologized to me. He goes, you got to stop. I can't go anywhere without getting flipped off. I thought it was a good payback.
Yeah, that's good. That sucks. He was really trying to set the tone. How
And
I
then
spoke.
again, I was fired. So maybe, again, we
Any
should
idea what
rethink some of these ideas.
Did that guy go on to just keep doing radio and
He did for years. It was weird. You know, I didn't really dislike the guy, but we got into a thing where there was a beef, and you know, I'm sorry that I did that because it did cost me work.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, really?
Well, though that's kind of an old boy network.
Yeah. So it's like Frazer. In his perspective,
he's a troublemaker.
He might be like he's cocky. He'll take your spot. And he'll stick his fans on you. And
all that stuff. And
I know. Let's just not give him fans, so he can't do that anymore.
I think that's basically what happened. Yeah. So I was out of the mix for a while. And I
then
learned a lesson
podcasting
from
came
that.
up, and now we're back at it.
Yep,
so
and
guys,
then I got kicked out of podcasting. What am I going to do?
If you see a 1984, no, I don't know what year, 2 hip license plates.
All right. Well, you live and learn.
Yeah.
But I've had a nice run. And
Tell me you heard him on
myself.
the Pocket Party podcast, and you want to flip him off.
Yeah. And is that what you call yours?
Yeah, it's called the Pocket Party.
Oh.
Because I figure... I'm the party starter.
Party in your pocket?
Yeah, party in your pocket.
I've done that many times. That's another thing that got me fired. Come on, folks. I got to tell you.
That is wild.
That is crazy.
Because I was going to call it the friends in your pocket. And because, the idea is that you instantly turn on your, like...
Oh, right, right.
And then,
yeah.
Hey, here we are. But then I thought, then I got to always rely on booking a bunch of friends and,
Well, yeah. But you know what? Everyone loves Darren Carter because he is the party starter. And you have the amazing energy on stage. Nobody gets the crowd. You got to do that KLOS thing next. They're going to do some more apparently, and I want to get you on the next one. I'm going to bring you up to my boss because you would be great on live with all your hip hop beats and although they couldn't see the flashlight, that would be the one thing that. How about my joke last week that I made up where I said I stole a joke from Darren Carter? I went out and bought a flashlight.
That's funny. My grandpa was a comedian, and he used to use a lantern. He's like,
he was old school.
Yeah. He's like, I'm Ralph Tanner.
One of by night and two of yeah.
Yeah. He's like, are you guys ready to start this shindig?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You can catch me on Instagram, guys. Here's what I want you to do: official Darren Carter. But listen, if you enjoy my podcast, the biggest thing you can do, totally free. Please give it a thumbs up on iTunes. No, a thumbs up on YouTube, and a comment. And go to iTunes and give it 5 stars and a review. So just basically, YouTube and iTunes. That's what I'm really focused on.
That's what you're looking for.
That's what I'm looking for.
Folks, go out and do that.
It's free.
It's
do it.
The party starter.
And Frazer, where can we catch you? Where can we?
Well, you mentioned Tim Allen. I'm with Tim Allen this Thursday night at the world famous Laugh Factory in Hollywood, opening up for him. I am working with.
That's kind of a semi-regular thing. So if you don't catch him, I don't know when this podcast you'll hear this.
He does like one Thursday a month, and then I'm also working a lot with Dr. Ken Jeong from the Hangover movies.
Ken.
And Kenny and I are at the Ice House on the 20th of I think it's a Wednesday, so you can also catch me there. I'm in all the local clubs and
online. You're on Twitter and Facebook.
Well, yeah, but I never go there, so I wouldn't know.
So you wouldn't know.
But you can. You can catch me on Facebook. It's at Frazer Comedy.
Beautiful. And I'll be at the Stir Crazy Comedy Club in Phoenix, Arizona, June 28th to the 30th. And I'll be in the Reno area July 11th to the 15th. Reno, July 11th to the 15th. I forget exactly where, but it's some places. But anyways, like I said,
I'm
guys,
also playing at the Walk This Way, WOK. And I'll be also once again at Applebee's in
they actually do that. There was a my friend.
Applebee's?
Well, not Applebee's, but my friend sent me he's like, check out my link, and he was performing at a Marie Callender's up in.
Oh no, I played that. Have you ever played that?
I never played that.
And then I did my Marie Callender joke.
Oh wow, what's that? I forget the joke.
I liked what is the joke?
Something about
American Pie.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the movie American Pie. I go, where the guy has sex with an apple pie. I go, I tried that. Got kicked out of Marie Callender's. Good night, folks. Had to go to Winchell's. They gave me a job making donut holes. Okay, they were mini donuts. Okay, Cheerios. Snap.
Awesome.
Snapchat.
There you go. I snap and then I chat. And then I head back to
the Evergreen Retirement Home. I got to get back there. I hope they haven't closed it.
This is bad.
Closes early.
Let's go get a bite. We're here at Bob's Big Boy. We might as well.
We might as well. Yeah. Okay. Thanks,
all right,
Darren.
Guys.
You're really welcome. Enjoyed it. You are the best. You're the party starter.
That's right.
That's crazy, Ed.
That is wild.
Weird stuff.
Thank you, guys.
99.955 KLOS. Weird.
We're not on the radio right now.
Okay, bye.